Okay, HTML video number 2. I'm going to start this video with the thing I forgot to say at the end of the first one, which is this preview is like mostly okay. It's not awesome. So one of the things I have to do is go down here to this button. It says real-time preview, and you click on it and you say Chrome or Firefox, please do not use Internet Explorer for now. So it's asking me to save it. You always have to save the changes before it can, because it has to have an actual file to look at. Have been modified but not saved. Save them now. It gives you the same message twice. I don't know why. And ba-bam. So brings up what you need. All right. And it shows you what it really looks like, essentially. So sometimes things will update as soon as you click in here. Other times not so much, and you have to kind of jigger it and save it and, things like that. But all right, so let us get back down to brass tacks. So I'm going to zoom in again so we can see our text a little bit, which will make it hard for me to see what it looks like. But okay, one of the things that I sort of neglected a little bit is I did the padding on the left and right, but I don't like how close it is to the top and bottom. So I can say padding top 5 pixels semicolon. And so it puts just a touch. Actually, I'm gonna 3. Yeah. And I shouldn't get too picky with it until I get the other ones in here. You can see this turns white because I don't have the finishing statement here. Until I put in semicolon, it all kind of vanishes because it's like it doesn't know what it's doing. I also want to change its color, which is slightly problematic because the color wheel doesn't come up unless I get rid of the hashtag. So I delete the hashtag and then I stick it back in again and suddenly I get my color wheel. And I'm sure there's probably a better way to do that, but I don't know what it is. This program is not necessarily designed to be super intuitive. But I'm going to pick a blue color that kind of comes close to here. I might be able to. Yes, I can. Technically, I chose the color, but I don't think that's the color. At least that's not the color I intended it to be when I made it. So we're going to take it from over here because I want it to be a little bit bluer. There we go. All right. So you can color pick if you want, but I can also just do that. The text color, by the way, is coming from somewhere else. There are procedural things down here. For if it is a link, it is this color, which is black. If it has been visited before, it will be this color, which is a gray. And if you're hovering over it, it's this color, which is a lighter gray. And I'm not even sure what active, let me think. If I hover over, not entirely sure. Oh, regular, I think regular links in here are going to be one color and these are going to be a different color. But essentially this has been kind of spelled out already. You can change those though. If you want them to, like, if they've been visited to look purple and if they're links to look blue, you can do that. But a lot of times people will want something a little bit more sophisticated rather than that old-timey internet-y blue and purple. Keep in mind that these are universal. So whatever color is up here is going to be the color down here for your links, right? It's going to be everywhere. Okay, so the other thing I want to do is I want these to be not clumped together. So I could sit here and try and figure out the math of where they should go, or I could use percentages. Now, all this padding that we did, that's actually making this li thing a little bit bigger. It's saying pad around the element, in this case text. So there's 20 pixels here, 20 here, 3 here, 3 here. I need something that goes on the outside of this whole box, and that would be a margin. Oh, it would help if I had a new line. Margin, and we're going to say 3%. I want to see what happens. So I can spell out margin 3% and it starts to expand these out. Now I do need a bigger number, but here's the problem. I think if I start putting in bigger numbers, oh, they don't move down. Perfect. So all I need to do is find the number Too many. That will kind of, apparently 7 was the way to go. That will allow me to have, let me zoom out, them far enough apart. Oh, I know why. My nav is, the nav holds this whole thing. So I'm putting it to 10% and then it's just not going anywhere. And it's because this is not big enough. I need to make this 1200. And then I think if I tell this, and I need to make this 1200. There it is. So UL and nav both hold all these elements. So if I don't, there we go. See, you can see the box actually. Now the trick is also though, if I make a preview of this, yes, save. Technically my banner goes to here, but you can't see it. So I maybe want to like shrink this back a little bit. So I got to kind of play with the difference between things being close together, or things being technically centered and things looking like they're centered. So, and all these numbers, they move together. So if I bring this down to 1100, it does that. And then so it kind of shrinks them in a little bit, and maybe that looks a little bit better. So they're not, it's not technically the width of my banner, but also who cares? So you can kind of play with things like that. The other thing I kind of want to do right away before I mess with anything else is go to where it says body. This is like the whole of the thing. And I'm going to type in margin : auto. And what that does, oh, it doesn't work at all. Stand by. Would that I could pause real life and actually troubleshoot while going through stuff. So I looked. It does not go under the body. I apologize. It goes under container. So this container one, if you put a margin auto, what it will do is it'll center the whole page, which is kind of ideal because what you want to happen is no matter what size the person's browser or computer is, this is what you're looking for. Because having it kind of off to the left is, you can tell it doesn't look quite right because this middle section is not expanding to meet everything because it's not the same size as everything else. But if I make it the same size as everything else, it should, okay, more better. I've decided that 1100 is how big my banner is, even though I know it's 1200, because that has kind of the same white space there as it does there. So, and then these look relatively centered. This isn't what my middle section is ever going to look like, but it does help visually if you fix it. If you put it where it should be a little bit, and then page by page, you will make it look unique. All right. Now let us see. One thing you can always put into something also is a background color. So we have border colors, but we can put in a background color. And we can say hashtag, and I'm just going to do like a gray. Something. It's in the wrong spot. We will fix that in a second. But basically, you can make your nav bar a little bit. You can take that down a little bit. So how to fix, so I have these weird margins here that I did 7%. In reality, I think I only want a margin on the top, or the left and the right. So if I get rid of that, that wasn't the issue either. So what we're going to do is we're going to say margin top. You can specify margins to be at the top or the bottom, and we're going to say 10 pixels. We're going to see if that shifts it down enough to look like it should be where it should be. It does not, which means, oh, I'll bet this is also not helping. So this is not, let's see, 1 second. Okay, so sometimes what happens with working on someone else's file is that you're not entirely sure what went into what, and so it can be hard to troubleshoot a little bit, but if I put in a bit of padding on, just a touch of padding on the nav bar, it tells this to be centered. So in other words, it's trying to just like, I think, line up the text with the top of it before. But if we say padding, then it kind of puts a little bit of padding around everything in here, and it allows it to be centered. And it might just be the fact that HTML doesn't know where the center of things is, right? It knows how big they are, but it doesn't, where it measures things from, it could be two different ideas. And I'm thinking it was trying to put the text along the top line rather than putting these in the center. But if I put padding is 2 pixels, it centers this nicely. It doesn't matter as much if you don't want this like bar right here, but if you do, it matters a lot. If I go back here and I put in, if I spell margin correctly, another way to do this is to put in margin left is, I think I had 7%, so we'll go with 4%, and then margin right is 4%, and that should fit. Oh, no, I need 7 for both. The thing is, you can't just do a larger number for one or the other, because then otherwise they don't get centered. The other thing I'm noticing is that this bar, you can't see things that you've already clicked on because the I've clicked on it color is too close. So it's probably best if I change the nav color to something a little bit lighter. There it is. Cool. All right. Or I could change it actually to something that contrasts. That might be even more better, because when we're designing stuff, we should be, I wonder if this color pick will work better. There we go, but like a lighter. I want it to be kind of unintrusive. There. Much more better. Perfect. The other thing you could do is if these were harder to read, you could always, you could do a background color in here, and each of these would have a background color, right? So you can have, if I go back a couple steps, I could have my darker bar here, and then I could do background color hashtag color picker and do a lighter color. That's a bit much. I don't actually like how that looks, but that's the kind of thing you can set up to make everything legible. All right, now let's see, what else do I want to show you? We've done frame padding and margins and background colors. You can do a border around the whole thing if you want. You can do like a border box around the whole container. You just put it there instead of there, right? That's the difference. If I put padding around this section, so this section is this. And so now you can see my text is no longer right up against here or right up against the edges, and that goes a long way towards making things look professional. Anytime things are very, very close to the edge, it doesn't look so good. So you want to kind of keep that in mind. All right, and then we have the footer. The footer is the part at the end. So I can say margin auto, no, go away, magnifier, auto, semicolon, and then it should put it nowhere. Oh, it's not, this needs to be 1100 in order to do that. It's still not moving. Well, first things first, I need to check to see if it is actually not moving. It is still not moving. That's swell. Sometimes we need to go back to the source code and see if there's anything in there. It's just the footer by itself, so that's a good thing. Oh, I know why. Because it's not just a box. I need the text. I need to tell the text to do something. So because it's plain text, I have to say text align center. So there we go. So in order to, telling text to do something and telling a box to do something is two very different things. So up here, I told the container has a whole bunch of stuff in it. So telling it margin or is a container, I can tell it margin auto goes to the center. Here, I'm dealing with a box and I'm trying to tell the text inside the box what to do. So the footer itself was centered, but the text in the footer wasn't centered. So that's the struggle. Okay. The other thing you might want to do, and you should want to do this, is have another line that it says copyright. So how do we do this? Well, see, I'm making new lines here. It does nothing over here. It's just for visuals. So I can put in a break. So it's caret, open caret, br, close caret. And then I'm going to put a paragraph tag here because I want to just make sure it treats it like text. Just make extra doubly sure. Copyright, Stephanie 2018, close paragraph. So closing a tag means using this slash. And there you have it. Actually, the paragraph, I don't need the break. The paragraph tag already does a space. That's one of the reasons you have a paragraph tag. See it right here. If I want to make this look really nice, I can go to the interwebs and say HTML copyright symbol. Because I don't know what it is off the top of my head. And we can see that it's, let's see, copyright sign in HTML. And so we can look and see it's this. And so if I copy that, instead of the word copyright, I stick that in. Look at that. Doesn't that look nice? I like when things look nice, right? So those are the kinds of things you want to consider, basically. These are all things that are going to be on all the pages. So I'm formatting this mildly just to make it look a little bit nicer so I can know how the rest of this looks. But my main concern is my menu bar, my header, and the menu down here, and my name, my copyright, and everything. So most of the changes you're going to be making are on the CSS, which we want to save that. It wasn't saving. There was a, or at least it hasn't saved since I was last there, because you can see all these little asterisks next to it. So make sure you're saving those. And then make sure you're testing it. Make sure you're going into this, testing it to see how it looks. There's nothing wrong with looking stuff up online to get ideas. Okay. You saw I went to get the HTML for copyright. Well, technically I've been stealing everything from my notepad that's been on my other monitor from a version I already did. Okay, because I don't remember off the top of my head necessarily that it's something dash something, you know, especially text dash align. I looked at that when I was like, wait, why didn't the footer move? Oh, because this. So you can, you know, grab these things from, you know, online if you have ideas. Look up HTML or CSS this, you know. Some people are going to want to change the size of the text. You know, HTML text size, CSS text size, things like that. Because you're all going to have very different ideas of how you want this to be. This is how you get started, but you can use more than these tools. And there's nothing wrong with looking things up online to get them. Technically, what you want to do is you type in HTML or CSS. We'll look for CSS, background color. And W3 Schools is a great place to go for this stuff. That's usually one of the places I'm looking at first. And it tells you the syntax. Name of the thing, squiggly bracket, property, colon, specifics, semicolon, and squiggly bracket. That's exactly what you have in here. It's just formatted differently. These are just so you can see it. If I want HTML background image, oh look, W3 Schools again. And it's telling me, oh, I actually set that up in the CSS. I can recognize these squigglies and realize that it actually if I wanted a background image, I would need to, the best way to do it if you have CSS sheet is to find the body and then go right here and say background image and then name the image. I don't have a background image, but if I did, I'd put it in there. All right, so, and make sure you're saving everything, and this is how you would get started. This is all the stuff for your template page, everything that's going to be the same for all the pages.